Have you ever met someone who smiles, but something about their eyes feels tired, distant, like they've been carrying a weight no one else can see? Some people don't just go through pain, they live in it, quietly, constantly. And over time, that pain doesn't just stay inside them, it starts shaping how they think, how they act, and even who they become. You might not notice it at first, because people with deep emotional pain, they don't always look broken. In fact, they often look the strongest. But if you look closer, you'll start to see the habits. One of the most common habits is pushing people away. Not because they don't care, not because they want to be alone, but because somewhere along the way, they learned that getting close to someone means risking being hurt again. So they build walls. They stop opening up, they avoid deep conversations. They keep things surface level, safe, controlled. And if someone does get too close, they might pull back suddenly, without explanation. It's not rejection, it's protection. Another habit is overthinking everything. Every word, every message, every silence. They replay conversations in their head again and again, wondering if they said something wrong, if they annoyed someone, if they're about to be abandoned. Because when you've been hurt deeply before, your mind starts trying to prevent it from ever happening again, even if that means exhausting yourself with thoughts that never seem to stop. People with too much pain also tend to apologize a lot, even when it's not their fault. Sorry for bothering you. Sorry for talking too much. Sorry for being like this. It becomes automatic, because somewhere in their past, they were made to feel like they were too much or not enough. So now they shrink themselves just to make others comfortable. Another quiet habit is pretending to be okay. They laugh, they joke, they show up, but inside they're fighting battles no one knows about. And the scariest part, they've gotten so good at hiding it that even when someone asks, "Are you okay?" they don't even think before saying, "Yeah, I'm fine." Because explaining the truth feels too heavy, and they don't want to be a burden. So they carry it alone. There's also a habit of expecting the worst. Not because they're negative people, but because life has taught them that good things don't last. So even in moments of happiness, there's a voice in the back of their mind whispering, "Don't get used to this, it's going to end." They struggle to trust peace. They feel more familiar with chaos. Another thing you'll notice is that they care deeply about others, sometimes too deeply. They'll go out of their way to make sure everyone around them is okay, even when they're falling apart themselves, because they know what pain feels like, and they would never want someone else to feel the same way. But in doing so, they often forget about themselves. They give and give and give until there's nothing left. And still, they don't ask for help because they've learned not to expect it. People with deep pain also struggle with rest. Not just physical rest, but mental rest. Even when they're lying in bed, their mind is racing, thinking, remembering, regretting, worrying. Sleep doesn't always come easily, and when it does, it's not always peaceful. Because pain doesn't disappear when the lights go out. It just gets quieter. And in that silence, it sometimes feels louder than ever. Another habit is isolating themselves, canceling plans, avoiding calls, disappearing for days. Not because they don't care about people, but because they don't have the energy to pretend anymore. Socializing can feel exhausting when you're already drained from fighting your own thoughts. So they choose solitude, even if it makes them feel lonelier. And then there's the habit of being overly independent. I'll handle it. I don't need help. I'm used to this. They rely on themselves for everything.
Because they've had moments in life where no one showed up for them, so they stopped expecting anyone to. But deep down, they still wish someone would try, really try, without them having to ask. One of the most painful habits is self-doubt. They question their worth, their decisions, their place in people's lives. Even when someone loves them, they might struggle to believe it, because pain has a way of rewriting your inner voice, turning it into something critical, harsh, unforgiving. And that voice stays, long after the pain that created it. But maybe the most important thing to understand is this. These habits are not flaws. They are survival mechanisms. They are the result of someone doing their best to cope with something that once felt unbearable. So if you recognize yourself in these habits, you're not broken. You adapted. And if you recognize someone else, be gentle with them. Because behind those habits is a story you may never fully know. A story of pain, of endurance, of silent strength. Sometimes the people who seem the strongest are the ones who needed someone the most. So the next time you see someone smiling, but their eyes tell a different story, don't just look, see them. Because a little understanding, a little patience, a little kindness can mean more than you'll ever realize.